My ex-wife often says that I talk too much and I should get right to the point and say what I'm going to say and then justify why I said it. So here goes. I believe that a young person can learn lessons about themselves by doing their best in the weight room and other places, maxing out, if you will, that they cannot learn any other way. So there's where we're going. I have that very strong belief that going heavy, pushing yourself to get more out of yourself, to get the best out of yourself, to operate at your best, is a very good way to learn things about who you are and who you are not. And I can't think of there's probably equals, but that's a pretty good lesson for young people to learn. And this discussion will hinge on the practice of controlled maxes in the gym that one has been prepared for. So I'm not saying run to the gym and go see how much you can lift on your various exercises. That's not what maxing out is. Maxing out is preparing to do a 1 rep max or a one big heavy lift with with weeks and weeks of preparation leading up to the pinnacle of operating at top speed, all on all cylinders, so to speak. Um, so some prerequisites to do this is that you should ask some questions, read up a little bit, and perhaps engage a coach or a professional to help you peak, bring yourself to a peak, so that you can handle your physical being can handle a 1 rep max. Oftentimes, our mind can produce things that our body can't keep up with. Writes a check that our body can't cash. So I'm not talking about that. I want to be clear about this. I'm talking about getting a controlled situation where you have been brought to a physical peak and a mental peak, and seeing what you are made of, seeing if you have what it takes to do X, Y, or Z. There's there's lessons that people who have put themselves on the line and push themselves all the way to see how much they've got. There's lessons they know there's things about themselves they know the answer to that people who operate even at a high level, 70, 80, 85%, just have no way of knowing. So if you go in to the gym and you operate between 70 and 85%, absolutely you can build lots and lots of strength and lots of muscle. But think what you're practicing on a daily basis. You're practicing operating, running your machine at 75% of what it's capable of doing. Think about that. Every day you go in, you go between 75, 85%, which are a lot of good training programs. And they teach you something. You learn lessons about what the last 2 reps in a long hard set can teach you about yourself, or the last 4 miles of a marathon. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a different lesson altogether. I'm talking about a 1 rep max where everything you are, your entire being, is on the line against some amount of weight. In this case, a 1 rep max demanding that you operate at 100%, not 75, 78, 82%. And you have to ask yourselves, how many times do I operate at that level? What do I know about operating at that level? What does it feel like? And this is a big one for me. To know what it feels like to be on the very edge, the very cusp of your abilities. and having to give 98, 99, 100%, because that's what the task demands. That's a totally different mindset. It's a totally different lesson that you learn about yourself. It's a depth of digging down into yourself that you don't learn doing 10, 8 reps, even 6. You don't learn that because it doesn't require that you dig that deep into your ability and dredge it up, drag it up, muster it up, find it within yourself. But operating at a max or a very near max does teach you those lessons. It teaches you how to reach deeper when 85, 90, 92, 95% isn't going to cut it. It's not opening the door for you, and you have to find a way to dig deeper. Now, if you haven't practiced that ever, if you're always operating at a lower level, you're very good at operating at that lower level. And you can make tons of strength gains and tons of muscle gains. And I have programs that engage those percentages too. But it will never, ever, 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 ever teach you about what it's like to be your best, what it feels like to do your best at a 1 rep max, in one glorious, blinding moment, to give it all you've got. And that's different from giving it all you've got at the tail end of a set. And it's a different kind of metabolism in the muscle too. Power lifters that do 1, 2, and 3 reps don't experience a burn. There's no lactic acid buildup because it's a different metabolic system that's providing the energy. You do a set of 8, 10, 12 repetitions at an appropriate weight, and you're going to feel a tremendous burn, and you're going to have to learn how to deal with that pain. And that's a lesson that you learn there that you don't learn doing 1 rep maxes. But it's a different energy system that's being used, and it's a different motor pattern that's being used, and it's a different you that has to step up to the plate. I promise you. If you step up to the plate with the 75, 82% you will get crushed and demoralized and perhaps give up the game. You have to come with a different game face. You have to come, and I'm saying you should have help getting prepared, bringing yourself to a peak, and do this. Not just walk into the gym tonight and say, yeah, I got to learn something about who I really am, and do I have what it takes, and all that. But you can learn those things by doing 1 rep maxes under controlled circumstances with some help. I think we need to be prudent about this because the risk is high. But he who would accomplish little must sacrifice and risk little. So if you want to find out this information about the kind of you that you are when you are operating at your best, then I think something you could address is periodically, every once in a while, finding out, giving yourself a test, seeing if you can live up to your own expectations. I don't think there is anything more satisfying in the world than living up to your own expectations, not anybody else's. It feels good when you please somebody else and they're proud of you, and your coach and your family and your dad and your partner are proud of what you've done. That feels really, really good, but it doesn't hold a candle to living up to your own expectations. And how are you going to find that out if you're always practicing and getting better and better and better at operating at a lower level, a lower percentage of your ability, a lesser you? If you want to find out what people who push their limits know, then you're going to have to push yours. And I'll close with this. I really believe that if you ever want to learn to trust yourself in a situation where the outcome is uncertain, the way you learn to trust yourself is to put yourself on that edge. Constantly visit the edge and come through for yourself, then you can trust yourself. Occasionally, you won't be successful. And that will teach you something about dealing with disappointment, failure, and, circumstance. Things just don't go your way. But if you put yourself at the edge, you ask an appropriate challenge, you challenge yourself by asking yourself to do a little bit more than you know you can do, and you find out if you can do that little bit more, and you do it, that will teach you that confidence and trust in your abilities. And the next time you're up against something that is uncertain, that you've never done before, like let's say you deadlifted 800 and you want to deadlift 805 and even more after that, but you're uncertain, you've never done it before, 800's your best. You could go back to a time when you lifted 600 and you pushed yourself to get 605, and there's going to be lessons that carry over into the same situation when you have to do 5 pounds more at 800, and you're going to go into it with more confidence if you've been prepared, if you've experienced what it's like to turn all your buttons on, flip all your switches, turn the dial up inside you. And you can't do that as intensely and as in the way of being your best if you're not asking yourself for your best. So that's long-winded, I hope motivational talk. I hope it motivates you to be prepared and to spend more of your time, or some of your time, on maxing out. I'm going to use that term, but I think I mentioned the caveats. There are probably more that I forgot to mention, so don't be reckless, please, and say, well, Blakely said that we gotta operate at our 100% all the time. I'm not saying that at all, but hopefully you'll take this and find a place to put it into your program that you're comfortable with, that at least every once in a while you see who you really are at your best, the best you, all that you can do, the best that you can do, the best that you are. There is only one way to know what that feels like, what the experience of operating at your best is like, and that is you have to put the pedal all the way down to the metal. So I've certainly said enough. I hope that this is motivating, and I hope you find a way to judiciously and prudently incorporate this idea of finding out what we are at our best by asking ourselves for our best into your program sensibly and sanely. And I guess I'm covering my ass here, I suppose. But lots of people, power lifters and such, often do this, and they don't get hurt because they're trained for it. So it can be done. You can find a way to take this idea and make something meaningful out of it for yourself, and I hope you do that. Thank you for listening.